What's up, Reds family? Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for the hottest Liverpool news and transfer drama. Today we've got huge updates. Alexander Isak's agreement shocker, Liverpool's 150 million waiting game, and Fabrizio Romano dropping his transfer bombshell. Buckle up. This is one you don't want to miss. And if you love Liverpool as much as we do, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss the latest Reds action. Alexander Isak has played every transfer hit. Liverpool's need clear amid 150 million waiting game. The Echo's post-match talking point as the Reds are beaten on penalties in the Community Shield by Crystal Palace. For a club whose investment has reached historic levels this summer, it might seem peculiar to suggest Liverpool are undercooked. But with the defense of their Premier League title due to get underway in 5 days' time, the penalty shootout defeat to Crystal Palace in the Community Shield has shone the spotlight on the areas where improvement can be found for the champions. It would be wrong to suggest the 2-2 draw with FA Cup holders Palace represented a screeching realization for Arne Slot about his squad's shortcomings. But it is clear that tactical tweaks and market moves are still needed before the Reds are fully equipped to go again. He had a good impact, but he is also an example of a player who came, I think, 1.5 to 2 weeks ago at the end of our Asian tour, said Arne Slot of Hugo Ekitike's eye-catching 70-minute cameo on Sunday. So for me, with only 3 or 4 days before the Friday game, it wouldn't be smart to play him for 90 minutes because, of course, we have Federico Chiesa, but he has not been on the Asian tour as well, so there's not a lot to replace him with. So if he gets an injury at this moment of time, that would be a big risk for the Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal games. That's why I took him off, but he had a good game today, that's for sure. Ekitike, a 70 centimeters arrival from Eintracht Frankfurt last month, has looked sharp, silky, and powerful during his limited time as a Reds player, but it's curious to note that he remains, for now, the only recognized senior center forward at the club. Cody Gakpo has always been a versatile, multifunctional sort of footballer, but Slot has shown no inclination to move the Netherlands international away from the left side of the attack, where he made his name at PSV Eindhoven, and as a regular for the Dutch side. And given Gakpo recorded his best season to date on Merseyside last time out, it makes total sense to keep him stationed on the left. Even more so now Luis Diaz has moved to Bayern Munich in a 65.5 million deal. 16-year-old Rion Gumoha has lit up pre-season at times, but he is a work in progress who is not yet ready to challenge Gakpo for a regular spot, despite the undoubted excitement around the talented teen. So the current situation leaves Liverpool with 4 senior forwards alongside Ngumoha, with one of them in Federico Chiesa still with plenty to prove at Anfield. The Italy international's pedigree was talked up when he joined 12 months ago from Juventus, but there has been precious little evidence of why he has his reputation so far as a Liverpool player. Speculation over his future persists, and minutes remain limited. Alexander Isak agreement reached, as Liverpool transfer target told, "It serves you right." Amid the fallout from Alexander Isak's attempts to engineer a transfer to Liverpool, there appears to be a consensus over the Newcastle Star's conduct this summer. The will he, won't he saga surrounding Alexander Isak and his move from Newcastle United to Liverpool for a potential British record transfer fee continues, with the Swedish striker still set on a move to Anfield. Unsurprisingly, many Newcastle fans are understandably irate following their star striker's summer protests in an effort to force his exit. Isak has been a revelation since joining the Magpies in 2022 from Real Sociedad, helping the club qualify for the Champions League twice, while emerging as one of world football's leading center forwards. But much his reputation on Tyneside has been tarnished after Isak failed to join the club on their pre-season tour before being ordered to train on his own. There are those who have taken a sympathetic view of Isak's situation and his actions, but most pundits appear to be in agreement over their judgment. As such, Mirror Sport has compiled the views of some of the most prominent mouthpieces as uncertainty surrounds Isak's future in the Northeast. Ally McCoist against throwing the toys out? Ally McCoist scored just 9 goals in 2 seasons at Sunderland, but he's siding with the Tyneside Giants when it comes to their handling of such a delicate matter. With 3 years left on Isak's contract, the Magpies are under no pressure to sell unless they receive an adequate offer, and McCoist believes the player is reaping only what he himself sowed after jumping the gun and segregating himself from his squad. "I think he's acted poorly," he told Mirror Sport. "Not all players, but some players, and people forget that if you sign a contract, you are clearly happy with the contract. You can't sign a contract with the intention of doing well, throwing the toys out, and demanding a move. You can't do that. If you sign a contract, then you have to say, I'm here for 3 years, 4 years, and that I'm going to honor that contract." Liverpool sent Mark Guehi transfer reminder as Florian Wirtz left visibly unhappy in Doyle, with the main talking points after Liverpool suffered a disappointing Community Shield defeat to Crystal Palace at Wembley on Sunday afternoon. So continues the great Liverpool transfer debate. While interest in Alexander Isak continues to dominate the agenda, the lack of options at centre-back is becoming an increasing concern for many Reds observers. That was brought into sharp focus once again, as the defense suffered another wobble in twice allowing Crystal Palace a route back into the game. There is obvious mitigation for an uncharacteristically poor performance from Virgil van Dijk, the skipper culpable for both Palace goals, but clearly still feeling the after-effects of the illness suffered earlier in the week. Ibrahima Konate, though, was not much more convincing, while new fullbacks Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong will need time to properly adapt. At least Alisson Becker remains reliable, once again underlining his position as the world's best goalkeeper with a series of good saves, but the wayward displays of Van Dijk and Konate, along with the ongoing absence of the injured Joe Gomez, were a reminder of why Liverpool need a new central defender. Mark Guehi, impressive in opposition, remains a target, but won't come cheap. And a glance at the bench underlined Slot, who hinted at the need for a new forward afterwards, remains a couple of players short. That September 1st deadline creeps ever nearer. Midfielders fail audition Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis Mac Allister had been mainstays in the new-look base of Liverpool's midfield under Arne Slot last season, and Wembley saw evidence of why that was the case. With Gravenberch absent due to his partner giving birth and Mac Allister starting on the bench as he searches for sharpness after more than 2 months out, Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones, who have both impressed in preseason, were paired together. It wasn't a huge success. Yes, the duo were quietly effective during the first half as Liverpool enjoyed plentiful possession, Szoboszlai typically busy and Jones dutifully attending to defensive duty. After the break, however, was a different story, Palace and the excellent Adam Wharton increasing the intensity with Szoboszlai coughing up possession too cheaply and Jones fading from view. Ahead of them, Florian Wirtz traveled a steep learning curve of playing in English football, although few opponents will be quite as combative as Palace. Having reveled in patches of freedom early on, Wirtz was visibly unhappy at the occasional physical buffeting he received after the break, although not once did he shirk the challenge. Alexander Isak agreement speaks volumes with Liverpool target quickly losing allies. Alexander Isak's preseason protests have not gone down well with many former players and pundits, some of whom feel the Newcastle striker should be made to pay. Talk of Alexander Isak's anticipated switch to Liverpool has eased in recent weeks, though the controversy over the Swede's behavior remains intense. Many Newcastle supporters are justifiably frustrated amid their forward summer standoff aimed at engineering a move to Anfield. Since arriving on Tyneside in 2022, Isak has been a standout performer, twice helping the Magpies secure Champions League football. However, his hero reputation took a major hit when he refused to travel on the club's preseason tour amid interest from the Reds, leading to him being told to train alone. While some observers have shown understanding toward Isak's stance, the majority of analysts appear united in their criticism. Ally McCoist against throwing the toys out. Ally McCoist, who spent 2 seasons with Newcastle's arch-rival Sunderland, has expressed support for the Magpies' approach to the dispute. With 3 years left on Isak's contract, Newcastle is under no immediate obligation to cash in unless a suitable offer arrives. McCoist feels Isak is facing the fallout of his own decisions after isolating himself from the group. "I think he's acted poorly," he told the Mirror. "Not all players, but some players and people forget that if you sign a contract, you are clearly happy with the contract. You can't sign a contract with the intention of doing well, throwing the toys out and demanding a move. You can't do that. If you sign a contract, then you have to say, I'm here for 3 years, 4 years, and that I'm going to honor that contract. You sign it because you're happy with it. I think he's been poor. You can't behave like that. The one set of supporters that won't let you away with it are Newcastle fans. It's hard to argue with them." Alan Pardew criticism. Former Newcastle boss Alan Pardew, who won Premier League Manager of the Season in 2012 after leading the side back into Europe, is familiar with dressing room unrest. While some would accept a big money bid and seek a replacement, Pardew sees no urgency, believing Newcastle maintain the advantage in negotiations, even if the striker remains unsettled. "The transfer to me looks like it can't be done because Newcastle are going to dig their heels in now, and I think they are angry," he told TalkSport. "I would also be if I was on the Newcastle board." Fabrizio Romano predicts Liverpool's signing, Mark Guehi versus Giovanni Leone. Fabrizio Romano predicts Liverpool will take a massive risk with an upcoming transfer. The Reds are in the market for a centre-back. Liverpool remain in the transfer market, despite already striking several high-profile deals. What a difference a year makes. 2024 saw barely anything happen, of course, but things have turned around in 2025. Liverpool have broken their transfer record, then signed the most expensive fullbacks in their history before dropping $80 million on Hugo Ekitike. Jarell Quansah joined Bayer Leverkusen this summer without a replacement, while Joe Gomez is already battling another injury. It's incredibly reminiscent of 2020, when disaster followed after Liverpool went into the campaign with only 3 senior options. The Reds need to sign someone then, and they're looking at 2 options. Mark Guehi and Giovanni Leone are both on the short list and could join before the transfer window shuts, and Fabrizio Romano has predicted who it will be. Fabrizio Romano predicts Mark Guehi versus Giovanni Leone. "If you want my prediction, I say Giovanni." "Leone," Romano told DAZN. "It's a risk, yeah? It's a risk. If you ask many people, they'll say Mark Guehi, but I say Leone, because I think Liverpool see a real big talent in this boy. I think it's 51-49%, but I'll go with Leone." Romano isn't exactly sticking his neck out with that 51-49 line, but it's interesting that he views Leone as more likely. Perhaps part of that is potential value for money. Guehi, after all, is free next summer, and paying now is essentially paying for 1 year. Leone is very much not out of contract next summer, and Parma want an enormous fee for him. They're asking for the price of his full potential, in effect. We're talking at least $40 million, and Liverpool will be hesitant to pay that for a player who may not entirely be ready. Romano, though, thinks they're slightly more likely to do that than pay up for the last year of Guehi's contract. The last few weeks here promise to be interesting as Liverpool also see if a deal for Alexander Isak is possible. The Reds will try to move on a couple more, too. The busiest summer we've ever seen at Anfield simply goes on.